it's true. It is literally the exact same beep.
Yeah, they must just like, that's kind of like their sonic branding in a way.
Yeah.
But
like Gary Vee. There you go. Speaking of sonic branding.
Yeah, so welcome back to Bone Apple Tea. This is episode, I forget what episode it is. But anyway, Adam and I sit down. It doesn't matter. Adam and I sit down and we talk about a ton of stuff. We talk a little bit in the beginning about the sort of what's going on in our town and our lives. It's maybe for like the first 15 minutes or so. A lot of funny stuff there.
Yep. Good old neighbors.
We dive straight into, this is kind of like a Q&A response to the show in general, and we respond to a few questions from people in general, one being confidence in keeping your mindset like strong during hard times, which is a nice little touchy sort of, not touchy subject, what do you like, a feel-good subject?
Feel good, there you go.
Yeah, feel-good subject for us. We talk a little bit about the music video we recorded for Sunday morning, which is going to be sick. Mm-hmm. And then we had some responses about, someone wanted to talk about Kumail Nanjiani and his sort of fitness transformation and if it was actually possible to do or not for the average person. We go into one rep maxing, how to do that properly in the gym, both with diet and exercise and how to approach it in general. We then talk about meatless Mondays and vegan Fridays in New York City schools, sort of our opinion on that and our take on what that might be about in general. And then we finish on Adam training for Jiu-Jitsu coming up, and he's going to be doing some competitions and sort of like how he's navigating that and what it's been like for him. And I guess that's everything in this episode.
A good time. Yeah, no, that sounds about, I think that's everything.
Yeah, sweet. All right.
Summed it up. Good job.
See ya.
Proud of you.
Well, at some point, the heat might start working again, so that'd be cool.
That would be sweet, actually. I can
staring
at the radiator.
It's just one of those things where it's like it should be working right now.
Yeah.
It's not. The thermostat's at 63. Like, it's not programmed at 63, but it's at 63, but it's programmed for 69. And it's just dropping and dropping and dropping.
I don't get it. It's reading out a lower number than it should, and it's just not doing anything about it.
The one job it has, it's not doing. And it's like, it's tough because like we've told the people like, hey, like, we should check this out. But every time they're like, oh yeah, we'll get someone out. It just turns back on again.
Yeah.
So I don't really know.
I'm sure they think we're just crazy, right? At this point, they're just like, oh, these guys are just assholes. Like, like those people who like live in houses and like they'll make shit up that's wrong just for the sake of like having contact with somebody.
Right.
Like, hey, I just want to talk to somebody. The water's not working.
Yeah,
I know. But the water's not working.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to come here and hang out with me. And I'm sure it'll turn back on.
Yeah, dude, our neighborhood in general is just kind of funny about it, though. I think my favorite story is the dogs pooping in front of our house story.
Dude, all it takes is one dog. And I saw 4 dogs crap in our yard in one day. And it was like one takes a shit and then the other one walks by and is like, this is my yard, And then it craps like on top of it. And then like next thing you know, we have like, you know what I mean? Like a 4-foot tall dog shit pile in our front yard. And like, at least they pick it up. But like literally to the point where I've parked my car and I'm like, I'm looking at my phone. I'm like, and I go to open my door and there's like, I can't because there's a dog taking a shit in our yard and like it's stopping my door from opening. And then there's a guy, like, the owner of the dog just looking at me like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm like, it's cool, dude. Just pick it up. You know what I mean? At least they pick it up.
That's my favorite is you not being able to get out of your car because there's a dog shit in there.
I look down and I'm like,
after we had been complaining about like just like bitching to each other about it, like, oh man, there's all these dogs shitting in our yard. Next thing you know, you literally can't leave your car because of it.
Dude, I just don't feel welcome in this neighborhood because my car was stolen.
Yeah.
Every dog in the neighborhood feels the need to crap in our yard.
Yep.
Okay. Our landlord's aunt, who has nothing to do with the property whatsoever, is like constantly spying on us. Yeah. Doesn't even say hi to us anymore. Just looks at us and grunts.
Yeah, dude. I noticed that on the inside of your kitchen, you changed things up a little bit. I'm like, what?
Yeah, we talked about this, I feel like, a number of times, just how nosy this woman is. Unnamed. I'll just leave her unnamed for now.
Definitely leave her unnamed for now. But
anyways, I really just dislike this woman, and she's just always just like talking shit, like she's always passive aggressive to us because she's like really attached to the house.
Very attached to the house.
And I'm like, you don't live here, all right? You're not the property manager. Don't tell us how to live in the house. She's like, oh, I don't really like the way you guys cut the grass. I'm like, who gives a shit what you think? You want to watch how I brush my teeth and wipe my ass? Like, it's none of your business.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You don't live here.
Yeah, like I was cutting the grass one day, and by the way, it's just weeds. I don't know what she's talking about like, oh yeah, there's these flowers.
She killed this rare flower.
Yeah, I was like, so I'm mowing the grass, and she's like, oh no, stops me in the middle of mowing. And it's like, no, so those are flowers and they bloom and blah de da de da. And I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, like, do you have the number for fucking Johnny? Who's his face? I don't know his actual name.
Yeah.
At the other, you can call him to mow. I'm like, do I have to pay him? Yeah, well, you'd have to. Okay, then I'm not going to call him.
Yeah, like it's just like we can do that. Like I'm not going to hire the neighbor to do the dishes too. Like I don't know why she feels the need to like it's just like a heavy suggestion, It's like thanks.
Yeah.
But leave and stop. Leave. And she always brings stuff up that's like we have a text, like a group chat, and like she'll text one of us. And
mostly
it's always,
Adam, actually.
Yeah, and
which is funny because of how much you don't like her, and she only contacts you.
She only contacts me, dude. She's always giving me attitude, and I'm like nothing but nice to this woman. And I think that's why, because she just thinks she can get away with it. And I'm like, oh my god, her husband is such a nice guy. He's so quiet and passive. I'm like, damn, she definitely walks all over this guy. But dude, and she's always bringing up stuff that's like. And we told our landlord about this, and we might have talked about it on the last episode. I don't know. It just has been happening more since last time. Yeah. She's always bringing up stuff. It's like stuff you wouldn't know. Like she's always commenting on stuff you wouldn't have known about unless you were like weirdly spying on the inside of our house.
Yeah.
Like stuff about like in the house that like unless you were staring through the windows, you wouldn't have been able to see like, oh, I see you guys hung a new picture in the dining room. It's like, yeah. I saw you got a new couch. Looks great from the yard. Yeah. I'm like, okay.
Keeping these shades shut.
And she's always walking by and she's walking her two cute little dogs, but she's always got a horrible, miserable look on her face. And then she goes and she talks to the neighbor.
Yep.
They're like
definitely
roughly
talking
the
shit.
Same age, and they're like friends, and they sit there on the sidewalk outside our house, and they talk, and then they just look at the house together, and then they go back to talking.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is this?
Yeah, what's going on here, dude? Yeah. Dude, that was just like I was shoveling snow, and the neighbors were like, they were like, oh yeah, Dave is the one, random name. He's the one that he like snow plowed the sidewalks for everyone. I was like, yeah, I'm like really happy someone did that. It's great. Like it's amazing that someone just like got up and did that. Yeah, we bought him a bottle of wine and sent it over. He lives in that house over there.
This is his mailing address, and this was the bottle we bought. If you want to pass it on, you asshole.
Exactly.
They're just so passive aggressive, dude. I'm just over it. You know what I mean? It was nice at first, and then I'm like, why is everybody like, just leave us alone? Just let us live in this house.
I think it's because they're all like, they're past like the years that we're at, right? So they're in this like neighborly, like who's in the neighborhood kind of like this is their drama. You know what I mean? So like they're looking at us like, who are these young fucks?
Like I get it to some extent. Like I'm down to do neighborhood shit. Sure. If I know the guy who's doing outside, like I'll send him something. That was great. Thank you so much for doing that. But like they don't even. It's not like nobody tells you these things. They just like see that you haven't done anything. And it's like one day you wake up and the sidewalk's cleared. You know what I mean? Like the whole sidewalk. I'm like, oh, it must be a public service thing, right?
Yeah.
And then like you don't know what the hell's going on. Nobody says anything. But then they come at you and like basically like scold you / criticize you for like not sending something out. I'm like, I don't even know who did this. Like somebody sends me a letter in the mail.
Oh, go ahead.
Dude, well, nothing. I was just gonna say like it's like random shit. Like so, the dude who picks the trash up. Okay. Like I don't know where I'm not sending him a bottle of wine. I don't know who does it.
Yeah,
it's just gone on Wednesday morning. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like the same thing. I was like, oh, somebody plowed the street. Like Am I sending donations
Yeah,
somewhere?
like I didn't know if I didn't know what that was. I was like, wow, the whole street's done. That must have been like the plow guy had a special thing, but no, it turns out it was this guy. I don't know. But the what was it? Halloween. That was an example when we didn't hang any decorations and all of a sudden there was like decorations thrown into our yard.
Yeah, dude. That was another thing. And then you actually did do something.
Yeah,
you know what
last
I mean?
minute, and I stole the show. I bet they were pissed about that, actually.
You know what? Good. Fuck them. Because like, dude, they've been, to me, I'm just like, okay, yeah, like, I'm going to be out of here when the lease is up. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right. Yeah.
Like, okay, you know.
Tear rolling down my eye right now.
Yeah, that's not, it's not like an excuse not to do that kind of stuff, but it was like the last thing on my mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And people are doing it, and it was like, okay. And then, you know, you had some stuff and then you got like a couple extra things and threw something together. But
Last
just like
minute.
the fact that like nobody says anything, but then they just like start chucking garbage in our yard. It's like
little RIP, like a graveyard statue.
Dude, it's like so high school. I'm like, it's just a bunch of people in their like 60s and 70s, like, fuck those kids. Like throwing garbage in our yard.
And they have people over and enjoy themselves.
If I could still dance, I would be doing that on my porch. Like, okay. And like, you know what I mean? And so I don't know. It's like so like passive aggressive. Like I would expect like somebody who's older to just be a little more mature about it, I guess. You know?
I mean, well, that's the thing, dude. Is like once you like my grandfather told me this is that like specifically older people, especially the ones that stop working, the problem is that when they stop working, they don't have any like adversity in their lives. So the little things start to matter a lot because it's the only thing that exists that's tough for them. Yeah. And tough for them is, wow, look at these guys, these young guys making the neighborhood loud. Like, it's kind of funny how loud I feel in this neighborhood at like 8 o'clock at night when there's nothing. Like, you could hear a mouse fart on this neighborhood. Yeah. And it's 8 o'clock at night. And then we come in like from the grocery store, like, what's up?
Dude, it's true though. Like, I feel like there's soundproofing also in the house is just not very good at all. Like I think the guy across the street. Well, no, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like this room specifically
sucks.
But the guys across the street, like he was watching a football game or something, and it felt like he had like a PA set up and was like just like blasting. But I think he was just in his living room, and I'm just sitting there like, man, like we watch some stuff sometimes. It's like not that loud, but I feel like maybe outside it's super loud. Like,
yeah, no, it's hard to tell.
This drum set, I feel like carries to the 2 streets over. You know what I mean?
I've been outside when you were playing because I wanted to see what it sounded like. It's not that bad.
Okay.
And I think because this room has all the soundproofing going on, like it has the, the bass traps. And
I feel like these definitely do a ton.
Yeah, the bass traps in particular are much better than the triangle foam things. As much as the triangle foam looks like it does a lot, it's actually more the bass traps. But
yeah, I can see it.
But dude, I actually so this episode, what I wanted to do with it is do a little like
cute some submissions.
Yeah, we got some submissions from people.
I like it.
And so first of all, a lot of these submissions are kind of all over the place. Like, someone said anything on strengthening the dick.
Nice, good.
That was
that's good.
That's a good one.
I wouldn't know.
Take locked and loaded. Apparently,
can't really help you there. So
someone said how fabulous I am and everything I do and how pretty my hair is. That was from Eric.
How to push pee. Eric who?
Yeah, Eric Chapman.
Oh, Joe. Oh, okay. Yeah. Shout out to Eric and his beautiful hair.
Yep. So we got one, and I don't know how much I want to talk about this, so we'll keep it brief. But kind of want to hear about you getting some bitches.
Well, I think this was just Andy saying get some bitches.
Yeah, because he's on that wave.
Yeah, because that's his favorite insult.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? That's a good point.
It was just him talking shit. Yeah, it wasn't.
Okay, good. That wasn't a legitimate request. All right, we'll hop over that one.
Of course not. That was just him saying get some bitches because he just does that.
So
sorry.
No.
Respectfully.
Respectfully. Someone, and Adam, I'm actually kind of curious about this, but this is the more serious one, but confidence / keeping mindset strong in hard times.
Oh.
Because I've kind of responded to a similar write-in. Someone wrote in a few episodes back when I was doing a solo cast about a sort of similar thing, but I'd love to hear like what you kind of think about that. And like when things get tough and like I don't know, like I know you're confident and shit, but like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think of when you hear that?
I guess like when I think of things getting tough, just remembering that even if it goes poorly, that I can recover from it. So Like nothing is like the end. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's not like
Till
if
death.
something goes bad,
Yeah.
then like I'm screwed. It's like this is an opportunity for me to see if I can handle some adversity. And if it doesn't go well, then it's like as long as I actually tried. Like it's shitty when you have regrets. And I have had moments where I'm like, well, I probably could have, like, I know I could have. After going through it, I feel like in hindsight, you're like, well, I could have done this easily had I just taken it more seriously or something
Right.
like that. And you don't want to have that feeling because it's a shitty feeling, but sometimes you
Yeah.
kind of have to in order to realize that for the next time.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that a lot.
But I
Yeah.
would say, yeah, just knowing that like whatever happens, it's not like it's the end of the world. And that a lot of the times like something feels huge and you're like thinking about it so much, but realistically, like trying to get perspective, basically, I would say it's the biggest thing. Like, okay, there's things that are way worse that I've had to go through, or ultimately in the grand scheme of my life, this is not going to impact me longer than the next. Obviously depends what it is, but the biggest thing for me is like, okay, well, if it goes wrong, it's not the end of the world. So I'm not going to think about it going poorly. I'm just going to do what I can to make sure it doesn't.
Right. Recover from whatever it is.
Yeah. And kind of have fun with it, you know, like if something is tough, like I guess I'm thinking like in my head, the first thing I thought of think of is like a job interview type situation. And just like being okay with not knowing something or not being prepared.
Right.
If you get thrown for a loop.
Right. Thinking on your feet and you're like, oh shit, if I had just looked that up or something beforehand.
Yeah.
You know?
And I just kind of like, I feel like I like situations like that where it's kind of requires some like improvisational type thing.
Thinking on your feet.
And I'm decently, and I'm like, okay at kind of imagining like what kind of questions I'll be asked in a situation like that. Or so like I'm pretty good at preparing for that kind of things. But in general, like, okay, if something seems daunting and you're having trouble, just remembering that, you know, it's like temporary. Like it's like a temporary pain and it's the temporary discomfort and literally everybody goes through it.
Yep.
And like once this thing is over, you're going to get a lot of perspective and hindsight.
Yeah. I you know what phrase I really liked when I first heard it and I still think about is if it's not going to affect you in 5 years, don't spend 5 minutes on it.
Yeah. Like that's kind of, that has helped me out a lot too, which is just like, okay, well, again, it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah.
Like in any situation you can get, like any situation you get yourself into, you can get yourself out of, right? So it's like, there's always a worse spot you can be in. And there's always, you know, like something shitty happens, like you're just going to say, okay, this is my life now. Like probably not, right?
Yeah,
you're going to figure out how to do something else or, you know, so.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah. So I think just thinking about it like that takes a lot of the stress off. I think having some of that, like anxiety, stress is like healthy in a way because it's like a fire under your ass to actually put in some work.
Yeah.
So trying to like say, well, I want this to go well. So I don't want to feel shitty. Like confidence comes from preparation, right? Like you're not gonna.
Jeez, I love this.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you want to perform, like I would just use a job interview example.
Yeah.
And they're going to ask you whiteboarding questions. If you've solved all of your, you know what? Here, preparing for an exam. You've done all the practice tests and you've solved all of the classwork problems. You're going to feel pretty confident going into that exam.
Right.
Because you've already seen success out with the exact same type of shit outside of the exam.
Right.
So when you go in there, it's like, well, I've already done this a bunch of times.
I'm as prepared as I'm going to be.
You know what I'm saying? Like just saying screw it and just going in on like without doing any of that stuff. Sure. But if you want to be confident, it's like, if you want to rationalize in your head, like, where is this confidence coming from? It's like, well, here's the proof right here.
Right.
Like, I know I can do this, so I should be able to do this.
Right.
You don't even have to make it a thing like, do I believe in myself? It's like, well, this is me doing it. Now I just have to do it again.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the confidence thing is a real tricky one for people that have to do any sort of public speaking. Yeah, public speaking, for whatever reason, is really daunting for like a lot of people. And I think one of the things that we've found that works really well is like, I am always super, super nervous if I have an exact script that I have to read in front of everybody. You know what I mean? Like, you're going to give a presentation about something. And remember that one report we did in sophomore year of college, where with like Kelsey and yeah. So when we went up, dude, we had word for word everything prepped. every word, everything was prepped out. By the time we stood up, my knee was like buckling.
Dude, me too. I remember that so vividly.
Oh my God,
and I remember too, because I was sitting there like, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah,
I can't stop. My legs were like shaking, and I was like, I wonder if anyone could see this.
Yeah, me too. I was thinking the same thing, dude.
Yeah.
I was standing there like, fuck, I feel like people can see that my leg is going crazy. But then that distracts you from what you're doing. But when we did our best was during like our senior years and our junior years, where we just had bullet points up there, and then it was like talk freely around the bullets.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And that made me way more comfortable. So I feel like part of confidence is like getting comfy in it and just being like, all right, well, here I am.
Yeah. And like trusting yourself to an extent, right? But again, like you'll have more trust in yourself having like knowing that you did what you could to prepare.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the bullet points thing, we just like to talk to. So it's,
surprise.
But just like, that's not to say going into presentations, like I get nervous every time.
Yeah.
But after the first few sentences come out, it's just like, oh yeah, I'm just talking shit up here. But the thing is, too,
that's what I'm thinking about with next Saturday with this whole like, because like this time next Saturday is going to be me in front of like 100 and something people. I mean, granted, it's all my friends, but then you were like, yeah, dude, I don't know. It's kind of worse.
It's in a way, because like, I'm going to heckle you, dude. So I'm letting you know right now, like, I'm probably going to say something when you're up there. Like, you know what I mean? Get him out of here. You know what I mean? So, but the thing is like,
get him out of here.
I feel like a lot of the time too, especially with presentations, because a lot of people get, you know, their knees buckle and whatever, and myself included, even though I like doing uncomfortable shit like that.
Yeah.
Is just, you know, no one cares.
Yeah.
So you got to think about whenever you're watching a presentation,
how much you actually care about the presentation.
And especially if it's a class related thing, you know, maybe it's different at a higher level.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time people zone out.
They're not even paying attention.
I'm just thinking to myself, right? Like I'm kind of just like, you know what I mean? Like,
but it's a good point, dude. It's a good point. Like most of the time you psych yourself up thinking that people are going to be sitting there with their hands folded, like staring you down.
You said what? That's incorrect.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But think about every presentation that you've had to sit through. You probably pay attention for 5 to 10 minutes. If it's like a 20-minute thing, you zone out every couple of minutes, and then once it's over, you don't even think about it ever again.
Yeah.
So I mean, you're never like, wow. Unless it was really bad. I mean, really bad.
I've seen some pretty...
Sorry. But I'm just saying, like, most of the time, if you just think about how you would view a presentation, you're never, like, sitting there judging. You're just like, yeah, it sucks. Everybody knows getting up and speaking in public sucks. So, you know?
That's a good point. Well, I think we exhausted that one. That was really good. I liked that. We got one that just said Sunday morning, which, like, we can touch briefly on. Like, we shot that...
Falling? The video. Yeah.
Rain is falling. But no, so it's Sunday morning. We filmed their video. We've been editing it together and stuff. It's been a lot of fun. And that, I guess their single's coming out in a month. So if their single's dropping in a month, I imagine they're dropping it with the video. Which is a good point. It's good to know. I do want to send them something probably at the end of this week, but it's nice to know that we have a little buffer where we can go back and be like, actually, let's like add in a little more color here or something.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, that was a ton of fun.
Yeah,
was that the first time you shot a video too?
Yeah, and it's funny too because like a few months ago, or I don't know, I don't remember what it was, but I was like, I kind of want to shoot a music video for some of Joe's stuff.
Yeah,
because I was like, it'd be kind of cool. Like I was like, I just had some random thoughts, and like so I wrote them down. But I gotta hit him with that at some point. We should do something for.
We should
stuff,
because like
why not?
Because I think we would do a great job. Like Isaiah's got the Komodo, and that's great. You know, like we can't compete with that, but like we can compete with a good looking video having a solid idea. Like we have good enough equipment to make an entertaining video.
The thing is, I feel like, it's like going through certain. You know, you get a shot in your head, and you're like, all right, well. It would be nice to try this out before we get people in a room.
Right.
You know, because you never know what could happen. And then it's like, well, there's always like little nuances with getting a shot where you're kind of sitting there like, oh man, okay, this isn't as straightforward as I thought it was going to be.
Yeah. Which even like when we were setting up to film the band shots, I was like, all right, I think this is exactly how I pictured it in my mind with how we're going to film it.
Yeah.
And then it's just like, okay. And then in post, I'm like, shit, way too much pink light.
Yeah.
Like I should have toned it down and it would have looked better, but we were able to fix a lot of things in post, the worst saying ever. But we did. And it's like, man, like now going forward, I'm going to pay attention to that more so.
And I feel like too just specifically with pink light is that there's a lot of pink and red in skin. So
yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's unfortunate to have it spill over somebody's face because then you basically have to give them a new face. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
I know. And now it's like every frame is like something we have to consider when we're subtracting pink light. We have to be like, all right, but now he looks like a zombie.
And then your computer blows up because you're trying to do too many.
Yeah, I know.
So
computer's barely hanging on. Well, dude, I think that's the heat coming on.
Is it?
Holy shit.
Signs of life.
Yeah, you know what it was? We were talking so much smack about it, decided to turn back on.
This thing is like, it's like almost sarcastic. Like,
I know.
it just like messes with. I swear to God, dude. There's a ghost in our house.
Yeah, probably. It's just having a ball right now.
Pipe ghost.
And then it's also it's like cemented into our like frying pan thing, the thing that we use, the splash guard.
That's got to go, dude. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we got to buy a new one of those.
Omen.
Yeah.
That's like whatever that Harry Potter is. Let me see the cup.
Oh yeah.
The third one.
Third one. Yeah, that's good. It's a good one. So other stuff that I got 2 direct messages about this one. So the first one was an article about Kumail Nanjiani. I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's in Eternals. He was in, what was that sitcom he was in when he wasn't jacked?
What was it called? He was in Silicon Valley.
Silicon Valley.
I haven't seen the last season of that because they got rid of Ehrlich.
Oh, okay. I've seen like the first few episodes and it was really funny, but I never finished it off.
Dude, so good. TJ Miller's hilarious.
Yeah. So, so the article was just pretty much like highlighting how, how he got so jacked for Eternals. The article's a little old. It was from like 2019. But it was how he posted this Instagram thing that was like, yeah, I couldn't have done this without like 6 days a week in the gym with a personal trainer, a personal chef, and 5 different trainers, and like a job that allowed me to only just work at physical fitness. And then Rob, what's his name from Always Sunny in Philadelphia? I always pronounce
Rob McElhenney.
Yeah. So he said the same thing on like, the only reason I could get this body was because this and that with trainers and prepped meals, and I didn't have a job that required me to be there. And that's the only way that you're going to get this body. And then a lot of people were responding like, yeah, that's so right. I'm really glad these guys are coming out and saying that these physiques are unattainable for the average person, because they are. Now, my buddy was like, this is bullshit. Like, you can attain that. Like, what are they talking about? And I think the key term for me in response to that is that for the average person. Mm-hmm. And for the average person, I actually agree. Like, I don't think most people are ever going to look like Kumail does look. And same with Rob, as far as like their ultimate jacked physique. And I think that's just because like most people will never give the gym the time of day anyway. And, maybe they just need to just be doing general activity rather than trying to get like a jacked Greek god.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, yeah, the average person, there's a lot of, the thing is it's possible.
Too. Yeah,
right?
It's the time.
So the biggest thing is the time frame.
Yeah,
it's not possible in a year. It's not possible in 6 months like some of these guys do it in.
Yeah.
For a normal person, it's possible in like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's 5 to 10 years. And I'm saying that because that also accounts for like ramp up time to learn. Let's just assume you just had a trainer that knew exactly what he was doing. You got to think like a lot of people have problems like predispositions or like ways that they move that would need to be corrected in order to get a symmetrical and full physique.
Right.
So even that takes like, 2 years sometimes.
A year or two.
If you're working at it consistently and you have a dude that tells you what to do, see, this is where the trainer, like I think the trainer comes in. But on your own, yeah, sure, 5 to 10. If you decide to take it upon yourself to learn these things though.
Yeah.
So you have to be interested in learning about it and then interested in trying and actually being consistent.
Yeah.
And then you have to be consistent with the eating too.
Yeah,
and then once, if everything is dialed, it's going to take you years, a few years.
Yeah. Without the use of steroids.
If everything was dialed, 3 years,
Yeah.
Will you look as full as those guys at that body fat percentage? Maybe if you have really good genetics.
Yeah, maybe. Actually, I guess you're right. Like if you have really good genetics.
Yeah. And if you want it to happen in a year, you need the guidance. So a personal trainer, you need the eating, and then you need steroids.
Yes. Which is like, and if we're being honest, that's like what a lot of these guys are doing. If they're not using quote steroids, right? They're on HRT, right? Like Kumail is in his 40s, right? And so is Rob.
I think so.
Both of them are in their 40s. And there's a clip of them talking about like, oh, like, you know, I didn't used to fucking wake up with morning wood. I haven't for the past however many years. And now all of a sudden it's happening again.
Yeah.
You know, since I started like going to my doctor. And it's like, okay, so you're getting, and it's like, okay, I'm totally for that. Like if that's what you want to do. But I think for whatever reason, it is kind of frowned upon for them to talk about their hormone replacement therapy when like it is an integral part of how they went, specifically Kumail and Rob, but like Kumail in like 6-7 months went from like the guy that he is on what was in Silicon Valley to like absolutely just like jacked stud muffin.
Yeah.
You know, like that's like, that is impossible for most people.
I mean,
in that
literally, yeah. In that time frame, like, yes, literally impossible unless nothing, to be honest, you know, like I was going to say, unless you have insanely good genetics, which in that case, sure.
But even still, I don't think you'd get as big and full as he is, at least as he was for that photo shoot. Now, granted, I'm sure he had a nice pump and I'm sure he had downward lighting and everything, but like
a good personal trainer and a good consistent meal plan with really good genetics will get you far. But again, yeah, like that time frame is just crazy. And you would have to have not worked out ever and just be like baseline muscular and like, you know what I mean? Like, so you get newbie gains, and like, then it's like, okay.
But like, dude, even like people that I know that have really good genetics and like, you know, like work out pretty consistently, like, you know, and are pretty good with a diet, it's like, they're still not seeing that.
No.
You know, they're not seeing like literally like 20, 30 pounds of like pure muscle tissue on their body in 6 months. It doesn't happen.
An experienced lifter getting just newbie gains out of nowhere. You know? So
I think it's possible to gain, like I've seen people be like, oh yeah, he gained 40 pounds of muscle. And I'm like, no, he didn't gain 40 pounds of muscle. He gained 40 pounds of weight. I bet you know, maybe 20 pounds. Like I'm not talking about this specifically, but I've seen other people that post up. They're like, oh yeah, I'm 10% body fat and I gained this in a year. And I'm like, okay, number one, you're not 10% body fat. Number two, it wasn't 30 pounds of muscle. It was maybe like 15 pounds of muscle and then 15 pounds of water and fat.
Yeah, I was going to say, they're
totally cool.
There's
it just is what it is.
Even if it's not like fat, you get a lot of intramuscular fluid. You know what I mean? So you're getting a lot of fluid retention because you've built muscle. So like somebody says they gained 20 pounds of muscle or 30 pounds of muscle. No, you probably gained a substantial amount of muscle tissue, but a lot of it is just now you're retaining more fluid in your muscles because you have bigger ones and more of them, and you've also been training.
Right.
So you like people exaggerate. Like I think Ben Greenfield does this a lot, where he's like, "Oh, I gained like 30 pounds and it's pure muscle." I'm like,
"Yeah,
dude, no, it's not. It's not lean tissue. You gained lean mass, but you're probably retaining a lot more fluid."
Yeah.
So it's just, I see posts like that. I'm like, this is such horseshit. I just don't understand how somebody reads that.
The other thing that I saw about Kumail that was a bit unfair to the people that were saying the whole steroid thing was it being about race. And I think that that's a lot of people looking like outside the fitness community, looking in and seeing people like accuse Kumail of like, oh, it's because he's not white. That's why they're saying that. And it's like, no one's safe in the natty or not debate.
Yeah.
All you have to do is search more plates, more dates, natty or not, and you're going to see Johnny Sins pop up.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, like it's everyone. Chris Hemsworth gets it a lot too. Chris Evans gets it a lot as well.
Yeah. I mean, they literally, every single one of those guys on any of those movie casts, they show up to a scene muscular. They've been accused of being on steroids because a lot of them are. Yeah.
Tom Holland got accused, which I don't know where I stand on that. At first, I was very much like, no, like his physique, he looked great on No Way Home, but I don't think that his physique was unattainable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think maybe he just had a pump and took some supplements like on the day of.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Some hyperhydration or something.
Dude, I was talking. So Matt, the first AC of Tuesday, was telling me when he was on the set with like, what's his face from Dark Knight, Christian Bale. He's done a few movies with Christian Bale and stuff. And I know, dude, it's like, it's funny because like there's these guys and he's worked with Tom Cruise.
Oh, really?
And he's like, anytime there's a shirtless scene or like their arms are out, there's a whole gym set up. That's as nuts. Part of the set where they go when there's a trainer there and they'll run them through a routine and they get a pump and then they jump onto set and do the scene.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it's like, you know, when you see these guys on camera, you're like, oh my God, they're so full and huge. And like, and it's like, yes, but also they just spent like 20, 30 minutes getting a pump.
You got to think too, if they shoot scenes drawn out throughout the day that have to do that, type of stuff, and they just keep having to get a pump. Like that must suck.
It must.
You're just like, oh god.
I know, you're essentially and that's probably why it has to be guided to a certain extent, right? You got like a trainer. It's like, all right, we're going to take some glycerol, get a little pump going, but we have to do this all day. So also be aware that you can't just burn yourself out and then try and go do your lines.
Dude, well, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Played Superman. Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill, yeah.
He was, didn't he like tore his hamstring or something doing something for The Witcher? Because he's like throwing this sword around.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like doing all this crazy stuff, stepping in and out. And he's literally like...
And he's using a real sword, by the way.
Around.
Like
they're heavy, dude.
Yeah, I'm pretty friggin' sure that they were like, all right, let's do a prop sword. And he was like, no. It's like real
sure?
steel.
Yeah.
And that's wild to think about because there's no way that thing is light.
Yeah, no, for sure not. And it's like, I don't know. Good for him. That's crazy.
Yeah. But so that was a good little discussion because that's a really good one. So it's like, in summary, it's like impossible for the average person for sure. Most likely, unless you give yourself like a solid 5 to 10 years to learn, to adapt, and to be consistent, and then eventually you can get to this spot where you're very impressive, but it's going to take years.
And a normal person who just sees like somebody that's jacked and is just like, oh man, I want to look like that, doesn't like working out enough to do all that stuff.
Yeah, like there's definitely a lot involved and a lot of time. And if you're not using steroids, even if you use steroids, you might not even be an active responder, but it will definitely help. Yeah. But it's like, for most people, but long time. You know? But moving along, the other one that he sent was how to properly max out. So max out lifting, this is like 1 rep maxing. This is like, how heavy can I deadlift, squat, and bench, right? Like how do you do this properly so you don't hurt yourself? And I was almost going to text him and he's like, when you asked me the question, it made me not want to do it. I'm like, yeah, it's probably good because he's never done it before. And I understand the sentiment. It's like, oh, how much can I, right?
Yeah.
But it's like at the same time, if you've never done it, you're probably thinking, well, how do I do this in a way that I don't hurt myself? And so I've done this a bunch and I've had successful times at it and not successful times at it. My biggest suggestion is to have a solid warm up, but don't static stretch. So don't have static stretching. Every time I did static stretching, like when I used to do it with John and I showed up and I felt kind of tight that day, I probably should have just called it and not done it that day. But instead we did some static stretches to open me up. And what happened was my strength suffered. Now this is actually something you can look up on studies, is that like if you do static stretching first and then you go to lift, you'll most likely feel a little bit weaker. Yeah. And that's just the nature of it all. But doing like dynamic things or like, what's it called that Andy does all the time? Mobility work. Yeah. That can actually enhance it to help 100%. Open you up without being like statically like, stretching out the muscle. Yeah. You're like loading it to get ready to do the real movement. Like
For one, like you get tight muscle actually like almost counter to what you would think. But a lot of athletes that have tighter muscles, like you get spring force out of that. You know what I mean? So you perform actually better from an athletic sense when things are a little tight. And it obviously this is something like with an asterisk, right? Yeah. But it's like in a way, like people that are faster, you know what I mean? Like some of that stiffness actually helps you when it comes to doing explosive movements. From a context of lifting, like if you're just trying to do powerlifting, while powerlifting is explosive, right? Because you want to kind of explode up. First of all, just never go in cold, but I wouldn't say static stretch. Yeah. But definitely don't go in cold. And honestly, some type of mobility warm up. This is just for in general, not just maxing. Yeah. That isn't just doing the exercise at a lighter weight, because it's the equivalent of, and I don't remember who said this. I think it might have been a Jordan Shallow quote, but it's like you wouldn't test the landing gear on a plane by trying to land it. You know what I mean? I get you would do system checks. Like, sorry, you wouldn't fly a plane without like doing system checks. Like the flight itself is not your system check, right? Like you check shit individually. Yeah, right, so, what are things that are involved in like a bench press, right? Like scapular mobility. That's why I do a lot of, I'll take an upside down press, like whatever the hell, bottom under press with a kettlebell. Yeah. And if I can move my shoulder, like, you know what I mean? My shoulder's moving okay. And I can stabilize everything and I can get this straight up and down, right?
Sorry, dude. This
that thing is whistling like crazy.
I wonder if it's going to come out in the recording. That's funny.
That's a good test of like my scapular mobility before going into a press. You know what I mean? Because you're doing the same movement, right?
Right. Well, that's why I think like Mind Pump, this power lift program that I'm following, that we're both following actually. One of the things that they have you do on bench day is banded rows.
Yeah, that's something you're going to actively be doing in the lift, right? Like, can you do it? How does it feel? Well, you need to be able to get into it. So like mentally start thinking about it. And then it helps set you up for the lift, right? Things that are going to help set you up for a lift. Like for example, like you said, banded row. Like, is my shoulder moving well? Can I, extend? They do the high fives. That's another one.
Yeah, the high fives. That one's, and it's funny that they call them high fives because I was just calling them the move that Andy taught me. Where like, because he had showed me this before where it's like you press up against it, you press, and then you go the opposite direction to see how far you can go, then walk back up, then press, and then how far you can go. And that's like a Pale's rails, essentially.
It is. And that's like, I didn't know what Pale's rails when I had first done that. They have it in Prime Pro where it's like you go backwards.
Yeah.
But I didn't do them like this. You do them like this.
Oh, okay.
And it was great. And then doing the Americana stretch with Andy, that was like another version of it almost. I kind of like it because you can, and but even with the other one, you'd start here, go up. But anyways, from like a one rep max perspective, definitely do all that stuff.
Yeah, the mobility stuff.
And then, I've done this like a number of times too. I would say, like we kind of talked about before this podcast, was just doing like a pyramid set, right?
Right.
Where you work your way up to the weight.
Yeah.
So you just see how it feels to get, a couple reps out of a way lighter weight.
Yeah.
And then as you get closer to your max, or you feel like this is starting to take a lot more effort, you go up by smaller increments. And a lot of this too is just kind of knowing yourself and like knowing like relative to the weight you're lifting, like how much more you think you can push, right? So if you do this a number of times, you're going to kind of get that in your head. Like, okay, well, I know myself and this was tough for 5. So I'm only going to go up 5 pounds.
Right. I feel like, so in kind of what you're almost saying without saying it is that like, if you've never 1 rep max before, probably don't 1 rep max. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like see what a nice clean double or a clean triple feels like first.
Exactly. That's a great point.
It's hard to accurately get a true 1 rep max.
Yeah. And in like, it's almost like a 1.5 rep. Like I kind of said this earlier. Well, again, this was off the podcast.
Yeah.
But like 1.5 rep in the sense that you should be able to get it off your chest and then have enough to almost like do another half rep, but then maybe fill in the next one.
Yeah, but you don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You leave like a little bit in the tank because like, especially when it comes to like deadlifting or bench or any of these movements, the squat, if you go absolutely balls to the wall, like you see these guys do on TikTok and stuff when their back is looking like a C shape, like you don't know how they feel after that lift. And they could have very well like fucked themselves up pretty bad.
Yeah.
So it's like good to be doing it to a maximum, but not such a maximum that you're actually putting yourself like in injury state, which can happen really easily when you get to these really high weights, which is also why if you haven't done it before, start with the 3 rep max and then maybe try a double rep max and then try 1. And these are all on separate days, what I'm saying.
Yeah. And that's why I like doubles too.
Yeah, doubles are nice.
For that reason is because like it kind of forces you to think ahead. Well, I got to do 2 of these. So if you fell in the second rep, you like almost accidentally did a 1 rep max.
Exactly. Yeah.
Then also like you got to think, one, you're not in competition. So, it's not like I need to hit this rep or
else
my whole, like my goals are fucked. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, but not wanting to know how much or how heavy you could lift something, isn't necessarily bad. I'm just saying, like, remember, you're not in comp, so if you're not doing like maximal effort sets, if you haven't done them before or aren't like working at that, then what might happen is you might go for a 1 rep max, and because you're not you don't have enough muscle memory and you don't know the movement well enough at that type of effort, maybe it gets a little too tough, and you do this a little during a bench press.
Ooh, yeah.
And then something snaps, right?
Right. Something goes wrong.
Because you're pushing crazy hard, and then because you moved out of alignment, because you're not you're not a pro at this, right? You're not like a power lifter. This is your first time doing this.
This is your body just trying to get the weight off of you.
Yeah, and you shrug and your neck's fucked for a week. Yeah. So, and I've done that, dude. That's happened to me. That's happened to me. So
it's literally happened to me. I had bicep problems because of a bench. People are like, how from a bench? I was like, well, you'd be surprised what happens when you're putting in the most effort as possible and you literally fail. Other things start to take over because they're trying to save your friggin' life.
Yeah.
And so you end up really like messing up things that aren't supposed to even be involved in the movement.
Yeah.
But in general, back to the pyramiding thing, how I do this, let's take squat, for example, right? Like when I squatted 455 pounds years ago, it's crazy that was that long ago, but I'm going to beat it this year.
You gotta.
So how I think about it is I do my mobility stuff, sure. Then I load the bar 135. I do like no more than 5 reps. These are just intentional. These are me feeling the weight out. This is me like just kind of like getting groovy with it. Okay, now for me, because I'm trying to aim over 400, I know that I can slap on another plate really easily. So then I go to 225 and I only do like 3 reps. Like the point is that I'm not trying to tire myself out. I'm just trying to not go from 0 pounds to 450 because your brain and central nervous system is going to shut you down before you even get there. So then I go 225, 315. Now we're getting to the point, if I know that I can hit, like let's say your max is not 455 and it's somewhere around 3 plates. Well, instead of going straight to 315, if you know that your max might be somewhere in the 300s, maybe go to 250 first.
Yeah.
And then go to 285 and then hit somewhere in the 300 range and see if you can do it. The only thing is though, is that if you know that your max is somewhere around 315 and then you go 300, 310, you might tire yourself out too soon.
So I actually was going to bring this up too, is that like, if you do this a number of times, like one of the biggest things is like, you need to be, and you get this after doing it a few times, but you need to be okay and like know yourself well enough to know, like at some point you need to start during the warm-up sets making massive jumps in weight.
Yeah,
and I just mean like during the warm-up sets, because the goal of the warm-up sets is to warm you up, not to exhaust you. So
correct. Yeah.
If you're again, right, like if you're doing like 10 reps at 135 and then another 10 at like, and I'm thinking whatever, we'll keep it at squats.
Yeah.
You're doing like 10 reps at 185 and then you're doing another 10 at 225 and like you're saying your max is around 300. First of all, you shouldn't be doing that much weight, but you should be jumping like, you should be okay knowing where your max is to jump like a 40 pounds in your squat.
Right.
And you do a couple reps, like you said, right? But you're right. If you're getting closer to your max, you don't want to be eking out reps at 5 pound increments. You want to get to your max. Like,
you want to, because you're going to,
that's a lot of effort already.
Yeah, you're going to tire yourself out. And actually another good point here is rest.
Rest periods.
Yeah,
really long.
Feel free. Like you're trying to get the most amount of weight. This isn't about hypertrophy or anything about gaining muscle size. This is a test of strength. So it's okay to take that nice like 3 to 5 minute break in between once you get to the upper ranges. When I set my 455 squat, how I did it was 135, 225, 315, 405. I did those jumps. When I got to 405, I knew that I wanted to hit 455 right away. So I went 405, 455.
Yeah.
And I nailed it on the first time. That was a week after I had failed at 455 though. So there was a week where I went and I did the stretching and that's when I failed at 455 and then I couldn't do it. And then I had to go back and the next week and try it again. But also keep in mind, I guess I don't do this that often. Like
but you've done it before though.
I've done
and like
it before.
You've worked up to like heavy doubles. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I think that's like undervalued almost, is like
heavy double.
Yeah. It's just it's just like doing a few weeks where you just try to do heavy doubles, heavy triples. And like, the thing is like, while you're building up, just like keep that trip, like do like a, whatever, 4x3, right?
Yeah.
Where like you jump up by big weight every time. But by the end, even though it's maybe supposed to be a 3-rep set, if you get 2, who cares? Like,
right.
The idea is that you're just practicing like maximal effort.
Right.
If you get 2, then you get an idea in your head. Well, okay,
next week,
now I know that was my 2. Yeah. And then also like it lets you use that as a metric to use calculators for your 1-rep max or, and then you can kind of almost go by what you technically should be able to do based on what you've done in the past.
Yeah, which actually online, they definitely have 1-rep max calculators based on like, like your 3-rep max set.
Yeah, exactly. There's tons of them. And like, I think the resting is huge, honestly, like 3 to 5 minutes, but just rest as long as you need until you're like, okay, I don't feel tired at all anymore.
Right. And then go for it.
Yeah. Don't get antsy because you're like hyped up and you're listening to music, and just wait, chill, and then hype yourself up again. You know, sometimes I've waited like 6-7 minutes between sets once.
Yeah.
You know, a few times, if I'm going for maximal, like I'm going to take all the time I friggin' want.
Yeah.
I'm going to be drinking water. I'm going to be drinking like sugar water.
Yeah,
you know,
no,
like
for real. Yeah,
taking spoonfuls of honey, like whatever the hell you need to do.
Yeah. This is where carbs are actually very helpful. Actually.
Yeah. Intra-workout carb. Like that's another thing. If you're going in for 1 rep maxes, I'm always doing, I mean, I do this in the morning before the gym every day now, but tons of water and salt, and then like some kind of salt supplement. And then, because you don't want to be dehydrated in the slightest.
Yeah,
you want to have some sugar in you, you know, or some sort of intra-workout carb.
Yep. Coconut water you were drinking for a hot minute there too.
Yeah, I did the coconut water. And I still do it. I like it. You know, it's like,
it's a good natural way to get like, you know, because I do the supplement version, but I think the coconut water is kind of like a nice natural way to.
And it's got electrolytes in it, you know, it's got potassium in it. And so, you know, you need them for muscle action potentials. So it was just things like you know, that will help you so you don't feel like you could have squeaked out more.
Yeah.
It's just like give yourself no excuse kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, like, and so yeah, I think that's pretty good, right? Like, I think we touched on, like, I think that we definitely, and a lot of what we're talking about too kind of applies to every workout, but like the whole concept of pyramiding your way up, and then like being okay with making big jumps. But if you feel as though you have more in the tank and you want to try one more set, fine, try one more set. But also learn how to fail. Yeah. You have to learn how to either, number one, because bench is probably the hardest to fail at, because like you pretty much need a spotter.
Yeah.
So if you,
fantastic point.
Yeah. If you're doing bench, I would like, and you're training that, like, do not risk it. People die from benching because they don't have a spotter and they're trying to do these max sets and it falls on their neck. And it's like not good. That will kill you. But so if you're doing the bench and they're maxing out, spotter. Squatting, I really have a strong stance on this. Don't do a spotter for squatting. And my thought is learn how to dump the weight. Because if you, number one, failing at squatting and forcing the weight up, I see a lot of people's backs and they don't look good. They're forcing the weight up and it's not worth it. You should get good at learning how to like just remove your hands and step forward. And people will be like, oh, won't it like scrape down your back? And it's like, no, not if you're quick enough. Yeah. If you're quick enough.
Sometimes it does. I think it happened to you once, right?
Yeah, it did for sure.
But no, you're right. Think about it, right? Like the weight's on your back. If you just throw your hips forward.
Yeah.
And you're basically just trying. The only thing I could see, and I think you're right, I don't think a spotter is necessary when you're squatting.
Kind of sounds like the name for this, the person that would spot you.
My squatter. But the only way I could see like a spotter, I almost said it again, a spotter helping on a squat is if, and I don't know that anybody actually does this, is if you're trying to bail and they grab the bar and pull it, like pull it backwards. But like you can do that yourself.
For them.
I just wouldn't want to be like, you gotta do like practice it. Really, just get 135 on the bar and just practice chucking it off your back. You don't have to throw it across the gym, but like
just stepping forward, like getting rid of your hands and stepping forward as fast as you can. And this is where like guards, like the guards can help, because then the weight doesn't fall all the way to the ground. It'll fall and hit the guardrails instead. But yeah, and then with deadlifting, like I see so many dude, I saw a video with fucking Curtis today, dude.
Oh my god,
doing his knees. Like, oh dude, like crazy, and just like inching it up and like thrusting his back, and like I see all these videos. I'm like, does it count?
Dude, deadlifting I feel like deadlifting is the easiest to fail at, right? You just let go. Yeah. But the only thing I could see like people being scared about squatting is if you get in the hole and you have the weight too far forward over your center line.
Oh, yeah.
As opposed to back.
And then so you fall forward with it.
And it's like you basically fold yourself in half.
Yeah.
Or like, you know, if you fall forward, it's like if you're like a wide person, you're just going to compress your chest onto the ground and probably break a rib or something.
Yeah, this is where, again, having the stoppers, you know, like the guardrails actually will help a lot. Because like
that's huge. That's huge.
Yeah, because like if you don't want to be falling forward with fucking your max weight on your back, dude, you will get crushed.
Oh god, especially if you're squatting like 500 pounds.
Yeah, I know. That's a goal for me. Squat 500. I need to be part of that 500 squat club. Need to get the deadlift first, but the squats almost there.
Yeah, I think you could do it. 50 pounds.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, but we'll see. I saw someone post on their story, and this is like kind of a cool topic-based thing, and you can tell me if we have to cut it off.
I'm just worried about that losing battery.
Battery. Okay. Well, I can do a check while I'm talking about this. Actually, I'll say something, then I'll talk, and then I'll check it.
Yeah,
so the thing that I saw was that New York schools, and if you remember school lunches, they're never that great, but they're now doing meatless Mondays and vegan Fridays are added to New York school lunches. And I wanted to like get your opinion on that because I have my own thoughts on it.
So is it like everybody has to do it, or is it just like offer it?
It's just like a school thing. It's like meatless Monday, vegan Friday.
Okay. I would say that I don't think that the school meatless Monday and vegan Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like did they give any sort of statement with it?
I didn't. They might have. I didn't look that far into it.
Okay, is this all public schools or just one in particular?
God damn it.
Sorry.
I need it. No, you're asking like questions that actually matter. So hold up.
I'll
see if I can look it up.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, sure. Do your computer thing and I think there's some sort of monetary incentive in it for the school. I actually don't think they give a shit about animals or unless it's like an environment thing. I think it might just be cheaper because it's food made in the lab instead of and vegetables are cheap. So.
Okay, so here we go. It says that's fucking funny that you said that. This article comes from ABC. It says New York City, a new program rolled out in New York City public schools, Vegan Fridays. Mayor Adams tweeted, "The reviews are in. The kids are loving their very first Vegan Friday lunch menu. When they're healthy, they're happy." Here's my thing, okay?
Yeah, see, just a statement, healthy and that vegan, it's like those aren't the same thing.
They're not the same thing.
Those are mutually exclusive. They're not related.
It's like vegan can be healthy, but just because it's vegan doesn't mean it's healthy. And so all I can think about is like me being in school and it was baked potato day and me essentially being fucking starved all day because all they had was a baked potato for lunch.
Like they're probably just like, oh, let's just defer to our health person. And it's just like, well, I'm vegan. I think everybody should be vegan. So we're going to have vegan Friday. But also I think it's just a money thing. I don't actually I think they might be saving money on lunches.
Yeah, it's just baked beans.
And it's
bean burgers and stuff. It's like cheaper.
It's cheap. And so they're like, yeah, screw it. Like we'll just do this instead.
And under the guise of health.
Yeah. And it'll look like we care about the health of our kids because if they did, then they would know that that's not.
It's not.
That doesn't mean that.
Yes. Like meatless Monday, vegan Friday does not equal health. Yeah. And honestly, like for some of these kids, the meat, and this might be controversial, but the meat that they eat is like some of the most healthy things that they eat all day. A little chicken breast compared to like if you have like a grilled chicken breast, and I know the whole chicken, broccoli, and rice thing gets a lot of hate. But like, there's a reason why it's a staple. And like the chicken is like, you got the protein, you got some extra vitamins and nutrients. And then it's like, have the veggies with it. But it's like, if you're only offering the veggies, I'm just like, I don't know. It definitely has to be well thought out. And based on how my experience with school lunches and what I've heard from Trevor, my brother who's in high school, about his school lunches, and he goes to a good school, I'm like, wow. So number one, they feed him lunch at 10 in the morning, they have lunch.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, so they have lunch at 10. And then he told me like one of his meals, he's like, yeah, it sucks. And I forget what it is, but it was essentially like mashed potatoes and beans. I was like, it sounds like jail food, dude.
Yeah, it does. And to be fair, I guess 10, like if you're getting to school at 7, like I, get to work at 8:30,
his school's a little different though, because they get out early too.
Okay, so that makes sense though, because like I eat lunch at like 11 sometimes.
Wow. Okay.
And like, we'll start work, but that's because we're up for a while by the time it gets time for lunchtime.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So I get it. You wake up early for school, like 10 o'clock, like I'd probably be pretty hungry. I'd probably have a snack with me. Yeah. But I just remember in high school sometimes and because we'd have to pay for the lunches and, you could only credit so many times.
Right.
Sometimes I just wouldn't even eat lunch. I'd just be hungry that day and I'd just go home and get some food.
Yeah, I know. I guess like the whole like school lunch thing is tough because it's like, if you're an inner city school, like you probably don't have a lot of money to begin with. And then like, which is crazy because I'm like, how they don't have money? Like, is it just because there's so many schools? I just feel like there's so many people. All the taxes, where do they go?
Yeah,
where do the taxes go? I don't know. I don't know politics. But anyway, so like,
I mean, it's New York. Who the hell knows what's going on?
I guess like policing maybe.
So big.
I don't know. I don't know what they do over there. A lot of infrastructure, I'm guessing. I don't know. But anyway, so like school lunches, I think is tough. But I think cutting out meat entirely, I don't know how I feel about it. But it's interesting.
I don't know. I agree. I think that's stupid. I think it's probably some kind of clickbait ABC article, and
it's
maybe it's not as extreme as we think it is because it's working on us right now.
Yeah, that's a great point. We're talking about it. It was enough for me to be like, what? You know, so and it's probably, you have a good point there. The last thing I wanted to bring up, because I think we're actually doing pretty good on time here, is the fact that you're training for jiu-jitsu.
Oh yeah.
And I'm really excited about it. You're going to do a competition and all that. I think that's wicked cool. Yeah. I think this is like a cool, for me, like watching you, it's like kind of a cool chapter for you to start, is like the year that Adam started like a combat sport and like legitimately went into it. Like you're going to be in a competition trying to fuck up some people.
Yeah. Hopefully don't get my ass handed to me, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, that's part of it,
Need to like build my overall work capacity, because definitely feel super beat up right now just trying to like work out and then also do that. So
yeah, that's the other thing, dude, is like it's hard to balance the weights and the jiu-jitsu stuff. Like people that do jiu-jitsu, like that's all they do. That is their workout, So I commend you for like trying to balance both like your wanting to look good goal, as well as also like wanting to not kick the shit out of someone, but strangle the shit out of someone,
It's funny because they're just competing. It's like almost like competing goals. Like, it would be nice if I would have to change what I'm doing in the gym a little if I wanted it to make more sense, and probably also back off a little. But maybe. I just want to see if I can do both at the same time. Like have these goals that aren't exactly aligned, but.
Yeah, I mean, technically, I feel like you did kind of back off a little bit because you were initially following MAP's Split, which is a 6-day-a-week program that is very intense, where you're like very intensely training a split routine. And now, I mean, it's kind of different because it's still pretty tough because it's like a powerlifting routine.
Dude, it just that last, I think it was just the leg thing, but that one day. But I'm just thinking too, it's going to go into like next week, which is like a literal like max effort thing. And then
that's a good point.
Up. So I'm not going to be able to like move.
Yeah. And I will say, treat it.
I'm skipping the day after that.
It's probably not a bad idea. When it says like 5 sets of 8, I really treat it as like when I get within the ballpark of where I want to be, I start counting it as a set. So like, for example, I think my squat max was like 8 rep max was 335. I started counting at 315. So that was like set 1.
Well, I don't think it's like, I think that's a good idea. I thought it was, I didn't read it like you have to be at your
8 rep max for 5
all
sets.
5 sets. I kind of read it as like the last set should be what you would think is your 8 rep max.
Yeah. And I think I
hope that's how it's supposed to be, because I don't think I could do.
No, I don't think you can do that.
I don't think, I literally don't know that I could do 5 8 rep max.
No way, dude.
Unless I was there for 7 hours. You know what I mean? And like maybe every 2 hours I did a set.
I still want to try that, by the way, the all day workout. I know it was like Mind Pump was kind of like the one that made that like a thing. But I definitely want to try it at some point. Like where you just do like, the deadlift, the overhead press, the bench and the squat. And that's all you do all day. And you do maybe a few accessory stuff, but you're doing like a set here, a set there. And then you're like resting and doing like little stuff.
Yeah.
But it's just like 8 hours and you're just lifting all day.
Fun. That's like a fun little weekend thing.
It's like a challenge,
But yeah, dude, we'll see.
Sorry, yeah, totally.
I just got to stay. No, I mean, I think it would be a fun thing to do. We should definitely do that. I think we did something similar once, but I don't remember, over the summer or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I don't know. We'll see. I gotta sign up for. There's a couple coming up. There's actually a decent amount coming up in the next couple of months. But it's just like staying healthy.
Yeah.
Just
injury free.
Yeah, injury free. Making sure I'm eating enough food and sleeping enough.
And you're trying to. What's the weight class you're trying to get to again?
It's like 155 is the upper limit. So. Okay. if I am heavier than 155, then I'm going to be at like the bottom range of the 175, I think.
Oh, wow. 175.
So, yeah. And like, I just don't need to do that to myself.
No, you're going to get a lot of guys like my height that are just like, lean.
Yeah. And I'm like 160 right now. So I don't need, like, I need to do that 5-pound cut. That's not hard.
No, I don't think that'll be tough. I mean, in that competition's in March, right?
Yeah, so there's one in there's one in a week and a half or 2 weeks. There's one on the 19th.
Oh shit! Are you doing that one too?
I was gonna sign. So the deadline for the early sign up is this weekend. But after this whole like, I had COVID, so I guess I should say I had
COVID again,
Omicron, which was like a cold.
Yeah,
a sniffles for a couple days.
It makes me really wonder if getting it earlier in the year like we did, and then also getting that vax. And then like not, like we're kind of like, as a doctor told me when I was in the hospital once, like, oh, you're triple protected.
Yeah.
So I really wonder if like when you got Omicron, it kind of like was like your body was like, oh yeah, see? Yeah, you're gonna come on in here, huh?
Dude, we'll
send you right back home is what we're gonna do. Yeah.
Basically, like I think so. And also just I think one, it's also not supposed to be as intense. It's just a lot more contagious, I think.
Oh, like easier to transmit, but not as like...
Yeah, so, and I went and saw my brother for like 20 minutes before I left.
And he got it.
And now he has it. So,
wow, interesting. It's weird because like I thought for sure I was like screwed. And I don't know if I am still. It's like I tested technically negative. I got the results back today. And I canceled my Saturday plans because I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
And I don't regret still canceling them because I feel as though that I might still have it, but it's not showing up or something.
Like false negatives exist. You know what we can do though? I think actually now the government, you can request to have home test kits sent to your house.
Interesting.
And they just mail it to you. So, and I had a home test kit and they're actually a lot better now. The rapid test kit, you like basically pick your nose and put it in this tube, swish it around, and then you drop it onto what looks like a pregnancy test, and then 15 minutes later, it tells you whether or not you're positive.
Yeah.
And so, but they work. I mean, I tested positive, and then I got a PCR, and I tested positive.
Yeah, so there you go.
You can do a couple of those, and but it wasn't anything. It was like literally like a slight cough and a stuffy nose for a couple days.
Yeah, which is good. That's really good. I think it helps that we're young, in good shape, eating well, sleeping okay.
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot of good things going for us.
It definitely didn't help the whole like prepping for like, that's why I was like, I don't know if I'm going to sign up for this one because like I took a week and a little off and then I just felt super fatigued. So I don't know if that's like residual or if it was just because I had trained earlier in the day and it was maybe the DOMS thing from my leg workout that I went way harder than I had.
It was honestly probably a little bit of a recipe for disaster. Like you got the DOMS from the day, and for people that don't know what that means, that's delayed onset muscle soreness. You had done a squat routine, the day before, and so like his legs were already sore, and then you hadn't trained in a while, and so you go in a little bit new, not like new, but like a little. Not because it's a cardio based really, and it's easy. You lose cardio so fast, just like so as a human being, like if you're not constantly training it, it just
that being said is like it's funny but you can also build it really fast. Like you only need like a couple weeks, and then your heart rate or your cardio dramatically improves.
Yeah, that's why that's literally why they have Hell Week in sports. It's actually not even that productive in terms of the sport. It's just productive in building your gas tank.
It's kind of crazy actually. Like it's pretty insane how much your body adapts to shit, and breathing is just super important. So, anyways, I mean, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think I'll be fine,
dude. I'm so excited.
I'm pretty stoked. I might, even if I don't compete in this one in February, I'm probably just gonna go just to see what it's like and just chill for the day and
like
maybe
get
take
a taste.
some videos.
Yeah.
Get some videos of the guys going out. I'll probably bring that camera. But dude, my legs are still.
Are they really?
Yeah. If I extend all the way, it's like.
Well, dude, it sounded like you had like a muscle like lockup spasm thing. Like I've had that before, where I did a 2-a-day, and like I trained with my intense like leg sessions myself, and then I went and I trained with my mom.
The same thing, and the same thing happened,
dude. And it just feels like it was my quads, and it happened at the end of the workout as I was doing like the shark pit like squat thing, and like my legs literally just locked up, and I got like a insane pump, dude. Like my legs were massive and just filling with blood, and I couldn't unlock them.
Yeah.
They were just stuck there, and it's painful. It hurts, dude. It hurts so bad. And then you're just stuck there until it calms down. I don't know if that's what you experienced.
It was similar.
But like,
I wouldn't say that it hurt. It was like, it felt like my legs were like really hot and like super fatigued. Like I just couldn't move them.
Yeah, didn't you say you crawled off the mat?
I literally crawled off. Yeah, I was like, oh my God. I don't know what. It's never happened to me before too. And it was literally, I didn't even do that much. It was 1 3-minute round of this drill we were doing. The first time we'd ever done it. Okay. And dude, I like a minute in, I was like, oh my God. I got so tired. It felt like somebody had like hit the lower half of my body with like a tranquilizer dart or something, because in the following 2 minutes, I was like only using my upper body. I was like, oh my God, my legs. I was literally like throwing them around. And then, we finished. And I was like, what the fuck's going on? And my upper body started to kind of like, but I think maybe because I'm more consistent with upper body lifts. It was just, I think it was a mix of the whole like,
dude, it was a recipe for disaster.
Yeah,
you had getting off the cove, you had the leg training day, and then you hadn't been there in a little bit, and then boom, tired.
It's crazy.
Boom.
I guess I got to sleep more.
Throw the weights around.
Dude.
But all right, sweet. I mean, that's definitely an hour. I don't know how much longer than an hour that was, but
I don't know. I don't even remember when we started. So
yeah, well, it was great chatting. It's good to get these like I like this, where we're just like talking about like, I mean, it's nice because the content's like essentially writing itself with people just like writing into the show.
Oh, it helps a ton.
Yeah, because we can just riff off of it. But yeah, dude, it was great having you on, and we'll definitely
see you around.
Yeah, we we definitely we'll have some guests in, and Adam will be there for the interview as well, and that'll be a ton of fun. So look out for those. All right, thanks, guys.
See ya.
Thanks so much for listening to Bone Apple Tea. If you like the show, please give us a follow, like, comment, subscribe, whatever it is. Tell your friends about it. And make sure to follow us on Instagram. That's boneappleteausa, BoneAppleTeauV on Instagram. Thanks so much.